trip to paradise.
Are you ready? Okay, let's do it.
Halfway through ATC 13, VIR is the location for race 6 of this 12-round season. It has been the host of 5 previous contests, 4 unique winners in the past. Only Micah Hendricks has multiple wins at the circuit overall. A slightly different format today, a special endurance challenge, a very long layout here at VIR. We're not using the full course, we're using the grand course, and a one-shot qualifying. Challenge the drivers to take this course cleanly in one go and set a fast lap. Let's see how they did. On the grid today, Dan McFarland has put his SRG Racing grid car on pole with Francois Schenck alongside him on the front row. Then you have Matthew Mayer, Logan McKenzie, Gonzalo Fabi, and then Evan Clavijo in P6 in the Delta class all the way up there. He has done a fantastic job in qualifying today. Let's see if he can preserve that. Mike De Almeida is 7th and John Lazon 8th. Then you have Raymond 2, Damon Mitchell, Anthony Harrison, Chris McDonald, Matt Zepka, Mark Darnell, and James Carr rounding out the top 15. Then you have Corey Lobner in the 3rd spot in the Delta class. Rest of the grid is as follows. You have Tanya Chang there in 19th, Guada Rijla finishing up the top 20. David Bauer down in 21st. Micah Hendricks down in 31st after being the first car to fail to set a lap. Then Cooper Akers and Connor Acatella also with invalid laps. Trenton Kramer, Nigel Honegger, and Aaron Law. And that is about the entire grid. 40 cars total. And I believe almost all of them are ready to go on the grid. So let's head down there right now and get ready for an hour of racing here at VIR. Well, there is the field. We've only got about 5 seconds before they show the drivers the 5 red lights. Here we go. We await racing at VIR. And they are a go. McFarland leads them off with Schink directly alongside him. They will battle for the lead, heading down into turn number 1. McFarland on the inside, Schink on the outside. He got a great start. Can the SRG driver hold the lead? We have Mayor McKenzie battling for third behind them. Schink's going to have the preferred inside line through the first couple of corners here. This could end up playing out in Schink's favor, and it does. He is into the lead on the first lap here at VIR. Bobby and McKenzie battling for fourth behind. A little stack up. I see Anthony Harrison going a bit wide. McKenzie and Bobby side by side. Oh, McKenzie just gets shunted across the curbing there. He might have a slowdown from that. And now they are really stacking up behind. Through the S's for the first time today. Everyone seems fairly strung out except for that little gaggle around McKenzie. John Lazon and Mike D'Almeida are all back there dealing with that. Lazon going up the inside of McKenzie for P5, and they will go wheel to wheel down to Oak Tree. The rest of the field strung out behind them. Evan Clavijo is still in the lead of the Delta class, but only just ahead of Chris McDonald. McKenzie does get back ahead of Lazon. Now they head down the straightaway, not to Roller Coaster, but to Bitch Corner. That is its official name. Lazon and McKenzie wheel to wheel as they head down there. Oh, a little hit as they enter the braking zone. And there they are. McKenzie will get around Lazon, I think, for good. And let's see if there's any more overtakes going into the corner. Yes, I see David Bauergain overtaken by Micah Hendricks. Schink still leads the group. And there's a little bit of separation happening with the lead pack. You see they are barely even halfway through this first lap. 2 minutes into the race already, and they haven't come back around anywhere close to the start finish. McFarland cutting a little bit of grass there as we go through the Patriot course, the inner course, for the first time today. And this is the section of the track where the drivers are just going to be focusing on keeping the car on track. We're not getting ourselves killed. We're not sliding off track, picking up a slowdown, anything like that. I'm just trying to keep it together. And I see Damon Mitchell and Raymond 2 going at it. And 2 is on the inside, going to become the outside as they come through Hogg's Pin. But I think he's managed to keep the momentum up. We'll look down to him now. I see Dan McFarland picked up a slowdown and had to drop down to 4th place. So some shuffling in front and behind. Matt Zepka is off track in the background. Evan Clavijo, Delta leader, about to battle with Anthony Harrison with 2nd place in the Delta class. Chris McDonald directly behind. And I hear a little bit of contact back there. I see Micah Hendricks on the outside of Corey Lobner. Lobner is 4th in Delta class right now. He's going to try and sneak it up the inside now as they come through turn 3. And he is through there. His recovery drive continuing. David Bauer trying to follow him. You know, if you're on a recovery drive with someone, might as well try and follow them through on a couple of these overtakes. We look back to Trenton Kramer, Logan Warfield, Connor Acatella. Kramer and Acatella failed to set a valid lap in qualifying. I don't think Warfield did either, so all these guys are scrapping to find a place to run in the back of the field and then start gaining positions from there. Now we look ahead to David Thomas in the grid filler Elantra, running in 15th ahead of Matt Zepka behind Nate Kerr. Nate Kerr won one of the races last week at, why am I blanking on where we were last week? It wasn't Phillip Island. It was Mid-Ohio. I'm blanking on it because there was so much carnage. And I'm looking back now. I see Tianyi Chang maybe losing position. Lost position to Fuad Al-Rijla coming out of Oak Tree. But yes, Nate Kerr won one of the races at Mid-Ohio. Dan McFarland won the second race at Mid-Ohio overall, and now he's in a bit of a pickle. Qualified on pole, got beat to turn one. A slowdown has put him back in fourth place with McKenzie behind. McKenzie is his closest rival in the title fight at the moment. Actually, I believe Polosek is in between the two of them. But they are these are two of your protagonists. The third one, Polosek, not here today, so these two looking for maximum points in his absence. But so far, it's not working out for them. Right now, the podium is Schenk, Mayer, Fabi. There are going to be 2 pit stops in this race. A mandatory tire change has to be taken in one of them. Oh, and Chris McDonald has gone wide at what looks like at the top of a roller coaster. He's had to come all the way down and rejoin just before hog pin, and that drops him to 5th in the Delta class. So now we look to Anthony Harrison under a lot of pressure from Evan Clavijo. Clavijo pulls out to the left side, but I don't think he's going to do anything with that. And into turn one, backs off. We look to Micah Hendricks. He is throwing it up the inside of his former teammate, Matt Zepka. And he takes that Croc Promotions Audi through the field. He's gained, believe it or not, we're on lap 3, 6 minutes into this race. Micah Hendricks is up 16 spots since the beginning. Absolutely insane climb through the field. Former 2-time winner at this track. Probably won't be winning today, but still showing off how much skill he has at the course. He needs a good points haul because he's already used up, he's had a couple of weak rounds, using up some drops, and now he's had the qualifying mishap today. So he needs to climb back up there and maximize his points if he wants to stay in this championship fight with how well Polosek and McKenzie and McFarland have been running so far this season. David Thomas, I think he went a little wide there, so Micah Hendricks will look for something into Oak Tree. We'll try for a little crossover move. Look at him attack the apex here. Lot of overspeed in this. Will probably be an easy overtake, a DRS overtake essentially, down the straightaway. And he pulls ahead into 14th. Just a reminder, Micah started 31st. That's what I'm being told, is that he gridded 31st by my software. So that is an incredible recovery thus far. We look up front to Gonzalo Fabi. He may come under some pressure here from Dan McFarland. McFarland, it's going to depend. If Fabi's struggling to keep up, then a lot of stuff happening back here. I see Daniel Cedeno's had to tow. Mitchell Rickmeyer is totaled and will have to tow. Acatella escaped, Kramer escaped. That scattered some of the guys back here. We look back up front, and actually while that was happening, McFarland got around Gonzalo Fabi. I was just saying, if Fabi is too slow to keep up with the guys ahead, McFarland is going to attack him immediately, and if McFarland gets around him, then McKenzie is not going to wait up. So Fabi is not, I don't know if he's going to be able to convince McKenzie here that, hey, and McKenzie's even saying there, look, I'm not attacking you here, so let's go into this corner at max speed, but it may be difficult if Fabi continues to lose ground. To the leaders ahead. Speaking of leaders, Evan Clavijo on the left side of the track. He has put some distance between him and the rest of the Delta field. Chris McDonald slipped back to 5th. Fuad Rijla and Corey Lobner are battling for the Delta podium. With Chris McDonald directly behind them. Clavijo still going side by side with Harrison into turn 3. Just comes back behind him. Now James Carr is right up the back of Clavijo. Carr nearly won here at the start of last season. Was that really last season? Him and McKenzie duel in the final laps. Zepka looking at the back of David Thomas with David Bauer just behind him. Bauer had been climbing through the field with Micah Hendricks, but got disconnected, and there was a few cars in between the pair. Look at this group coming through the SO. Bauer's going to actually send it up the inside there at the top, while David Thomas is going to go wide. This is going to create an interesting situation for Zepka, being very sandwiched, but he goes wide and gets a good exit out of Oak Tree. Further behind, I see Chang has gone off track at Oak Tree, so JB Dejay goes around him, and Sean Gaynor will most likely get to him as well. Maybe his teammate Cooper Akers, probably not. By the time they get to the corner, Gaynor will be alongside Chang. And he may just not get there. Chang able to stay ahead. So looking back to Clavijo, this is where these guys are just trying to stay alive. Look at this. Micah Hendricks is already on the back of Evan Clavijo. Clavijo started 6th. Hendricks started 31st. We're 10 minutes into the race. Absolutely fantastic driving from the two-time champ. And a quick update on the leaders ahead. Schenk has pulled out a 1.5 second gap on Matthew Mayer. And then Dan McFarland running in 3rd. Bobby hasn't lost too much ground from him. Schenk has not won a race since last season, I believe, at Homestead, Miami. So this would be his first win of the season. He's not that far off the championship fight. Not sure if he's in it, but a win would certainly help him out. Looking back to David Bauer, still not around Matt Zepka. We check in behind him, though, on Sean Gaynor. He has slipped behind Cooper Akers. Akers makes the pass and gets up to 24th overall. Fuad Al-Rijla now under pressure from Corey Lobner once again. The battle for the Delta podium heating up. An interesting thing to note here is Nate Kerr. You know, he picked up that win last week. He's had a couple of big points hauls. Clavijo and Hendricks going at it, but Hendricks not able to get around him at the moment. But Kerr's had a couple of good points hauls, and he is in a position to take the lead of the Delta Championship, even if he doesn't win this Delta race. So that's something to keep in mind. The Bearcat Motorsport driver has had some impressive performances so far this season. Zepka right on the back of David Thomas. Does he go for a move up the S's? He thinks better of it. And just behind, Chris McDonald shows the same kind of restraint. Back up front, Mayer actually keeping the gap to his teammate. Bobby has closed up to the back of McFarland, so he hasn't come under as much pressure from McKenzie as he might have feared. Now it's this group of 3 drivers battling for this final podium spot, a bit disconnected from first and from second. I think Micah Hendricks might be about to go for a move on Clavijo in the Patriot course. He goes up the inside. Oh, there's a little bit of contact. What could Clavijo do there? Hendricks decided to attack him going into the blind left-hander. It is completely blind. There is nothing you can do. So Clavijo, he probably couldn't see anything by the time Hendricks got alongside him. And the contact, I'm sure, incidental. Clavijo just trying to stay on track. And James Carr is going to be right there to apply pressure to the Delta leader. This is what Nate Kerr wants to see, because Kerr still 2.5 seconds back from Clavijo. And he hasn't had the pace to close the gap yet. If Clavijo runs into some trouble with this traffic, it would help him out a lot. Look back to Sean Gaynor, Lewis Gilbert. This is the battle for 9th in class. Gilbert's been hanging on at the back of Gaynor as they have... Wow, that was a lot of wiggling from the Croc Promotions Audi. Is that normal? He's been hanging on at the back of Gaynor for some time. Clavijo, this is going to be the defense against James Carr. Carr going for 12th, trying to look around the left side into turn 1. He had a nose ahead for a moment, but there's not a whole lot you can do on the left side there. You really have to outbrake your opponent and then pin them. Clavijo stays ahead for now. And that is quite a look back at Carr. Carr was very much giving him the business on the rear bumper. So far, Clavijo holding on to that 12th place, holding on to that first place in class. Nate Kurt almost 3 seconds back right now, despite the scrapping. Chris McDonald right on the back bumper of Corey Lubner. These guys no longer fighting for a podium position here. Fuada Rijla has opened up a decent gap, so it is looking at the moment like the Delta podium is going to spread out a bit. Fourth and fifth are here, and then you have Saab and Dejay not too far back. John Luzon may come under pressure from Mike D'Almeida here. They've been running together for a bit, and so far, no movement on that front. Now Micah Hendricks makes the move into the top 10 on merit, 21 spots up. Oh, but Harrison comes back at him with the over-under, gives him the little nudge, and wait a minute, pump the brakes on him, getting into the top 10. We'll have to try that one again. Hendricks lets his displeasure be known, but he'll have to find another way around the 4 OG's Elantra there. And that has caused a little stack up. Clavijo, oh, Clavijo actually behind with a big slide. He's going to cut the course. He's going to get a slowdown, and now he'll have to let Carr through and serve the slowdown before Nate Kerr gets too close. That'll be his priority. And his lead will be cut down to about 2 seconds. It's not the worst outcome, but it's not great. He'll be looking to open that lead back up again. The first round of pit stops should start within the next 10 minutes, depending on what people's strategies are. The longest these tanks can probably go is about 25 minutes. Maybe a little bit over that. Maybe a little bit under that. Depends on what people have been saving. Here we go again. Harrison versus Hendricks 2.0. And Harrison will let the inside open into turn 1, and really no contest there. I think he just didn't want to lose too much time to the cars behind. Smart move. Behind, look at this, they're 2x2. That is David Bauer making a move on Thomas. He's gotten around Thomas and Zepka. Zepka says, thank you very much. I might as well try my hand at this alongside you, and he'll come through there and take the spot. So Thomas loses 2 positions there. Fuada Rijla pulls up to the back of this group, looking for some extra points. We look back at Trenton Kramer. He's up 5 spots behind Aaron Law, who's up 8 spots. They're battling for 12th in class right now, not far behind this group ahead. That includes Kyle Murray, Lewis Gilbert, Sean Gaynor, and then they are not too far off the back of Chang and Akers. It feels like the lead pack has been in a holding pattern until we get to the pit stops. Francois Schenck has opened up nearly a 3-second gap, just showing some absolute pace today. We're not even a third of the way into this one, and I mean, that's a very, very healthy lead. I'm not sure any of the top 4, if any of the top 4 had the pace to catch Schenck, I feel like they would have caught Matthew by now and started harassing him, but McFarlane is not even within a half second of his teammate yet. JB Dejay looking to the right side of Brian Saab here. And hitting the brakes for Bitch. Dejay goes in deep, and he's going to be able to stop the car and get the spot. He's up to 6th in the Delta class. Micah Hendricks went off track at some point. Anthony Harrison and James Carr both went through, so a little hitch every time he gets into the top 10, something happening to Hendricks. Looks like he wasn't off track for very long, but it was enough to drop him back 2 positions. Now Carr will be looking for something on Harrison. McFarlane has caught his teammate, Matthew Mayer, and Mayer taking a wide line on the front stretch. We might be seeing a little swap based on pace. Behind, James Carr goes around Anthony Harrison before Hogg's pin into turn 1. P2 changes, and now it is McFarlane, Mayer, Fabi, and McKenzie. Hendricks has decided we're going for an alternate strategy. He's not going to try and get past Carr and Harrison again. He's going to just come down pit road. Will this be his tire stop, or will this be a fuel-only stop? Only one of these stops you got to take tires. So the drivers can split the strategies, and he will choose to take fuel-only first. So we'll keep an eye on that. He'll probably come out a little ahead of some of the other runners who will take tires on this stop. Probably about a 10-second difference in pit stop times. Hendricks thinking about traffic when he comes into pit lane there, I'm sure. Now, will the leaders do the same? Because they are in quite a group here. McFarlane is only 4/10 ahead of Mayer, who, I mean, look at this. Fabi right on the back of Mayer, and that is surely slowing him and McKenzie down. But Mayer, as long as he doesn't lose ground to McFarlane, you don't know what he can do. Fabi not happy. Definitely weaving around back there and flashing his lights at Mayer. But, you know, Mayer's going to stay up there and do what he needs to do. They hit the brakes for the corner, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if one of this group decides to pit on this lap this time around, because it's probably a prime time to do it. We look to the back of the field. Trenton Kramer looking to the left side of Aaron Law into Oak Tree. Has to back out of it. He cut over that curb a lot, but it's managed to get him a good exit. He'll be right on the back of that classic green Audi to try and attack. This is for 12th in class. He's not able to get there before the corner, so we look to the lead pack. Francois Schink is coming through the final corners now. Typically, when you have a lead as large as this, you go as long as you can and then you pit. But he depends on how he splits the strategies. McFarlane has opened up a bit of a gap to his teammate. And Schink has come down pit road. Gonzalo Fabi also hitting pit lane. That will thin out the lead group a little bit. It also will put Schink and Fabi back into the field. And I wonder if they found a spot where they think that they can come out and be relatively traffic free, not to lose too much time. John Lazan has also come down pit road. Raymond 2, Nate Kerr, second place in the Delta class. Bauer, Zepka, Thomas, Al Rizzo, a lot of drivers coming down this lap. I wonder if, with how long the track is, it was either pit this lap or pit next lap, or you're running out of fuel. So Fabi on pit exit, Schink on pit exit, 22 minutes into this race. McFarlane will enter the S's now, and this group is going to be hoofing it. They know that these are the important laps. This is the important lap in order to get out ahead of everyone who is coming through pit road. And pit road, very, very busy right now. In the Delta class, Clavijo, Saab, and Kramer all go the extra lap. In the Alpha class, there's quite a few, over 10 cars that do not pit on this lap. Look at this. Look at how many cars are coming off of pit road. That is a massive group of Delta drivers, of Alpha drivers, all stacked up. Micah Hendricks came out ahead of John Lazan. He'll have a nice bit of open space in front of him. Francois Schink is in a wide open area along with Gonzalo Fabi. So those pit stops are probably going to work out just fine for them. We look to the lead group now. McFarlane, Mayer, McKenzie. So Fabi and Schink do not take tires. What does this group do? They're going around some lap traffic here. Go on board with McKenzie as they work their way through. And from here, we'll see whether or not the leaders pit. Come through the final corner. McFarlane holding to the right, and they will all pull into pit lane. McKenzie right up to the back of Mayer and actually alongside Mayer a little bit. So very close on pit entry. Mike De Almeida also has to come down. And I imagine everyone who didn't pit on the last lap will pit on this lap. We'll keep an eye on the Delta leaders because Nate Kerr is coming around the track now. We'll want to see where Clavijo comes out in relation to him. All of these lead cars are getting a fresh set of tires. McFarlane, Mayer, and McKenzie. Now we wait to see who gets out first. Schink just went by because he did not take tires, so he'll be well ahead. Now McKenzie and Mayer are very close to each other. McFarlane comes out of pit lane ahead of the two. McKenzie has to back out and let Mayer go on exit. Fabi is through and Schink is through. Clavijo is still up on the jacks waiting for the tires. And I think some alternate strategies in the Delta class as well. Maybe. It looks like Nate Kerr also took tires. There he is. This is going to be close. Clavijo heading down to turn one now. Here comes Nate Kerr. And the gap is going to be about the same. Just under 2 seconds. Acatella gets ahead of Harrison. McKenzie and Mayer come out of the pits on fresh tires ahead of Damon Mitchell, who Mitchell did not take tires. That is why he has leaped up to 6th place, leapt up to 6th place, and that also means that he's going to be on nice warm tires for a couple laps here. He may harass these guys a little bit. McFarlane has pulled quite a gap on Mayer and McKenzie now, over 2.5 seconds. So he's trying to consolidate at least a podium place. Look further back in the field. Kramer, who also did not take tires, under pressure from Zepka, who did. And if we throw up the pit lane times for the drivers, or I guess the pit times, you'll see any driver who had a time of less than, 23, 24 seconds. They did not take tires on that stop. So Schink, Fabi, Mitchell, Acatella, Hendricks, all on alternate strategies. Akers, Kramer, Aaron Law, Sean Gaynor. I see Kyle Murray has... nope, that was just a blip. But yes, interesting to see who's on the alternate strategy and who is not right now. We'll actually go back to that because Zepka very close to him through the Patriot course. I don't think he's going to have a shot at him. So back to the battle for 4th. And Mayer definitely looks a bit slower than his teammate so far today. Gap now 3.3 to McFarlane ahead. Fabi's going to be the wild card here. I don't know where he's going to fit into all this in the end. But Schink has a 10-second lead on Fabi, and they did not have very different pit lane times. So that could end up developing very interestingly. Well, not interestingly, but developing very well for Schink, because I think his lead's going to be pretty big. Whoa! Mitchell sends it up the inside of McKenzie there. He is looking for something on these leaders. And now McKenzie responds in kind by trying to attack Mayer ahead. Neither driver successful, but McKenzie does have a run here. Will he try something on Mayer? Coming up to the S's, he goes to the left. Mayer goes to the right. And through the S's, they are wheel to wheel. McKenzie on the left side around Mayer. He makes the pass. And Mitchell not able to follow him through, but that is an important pass for McKenzie. It allows him to go chase Mayer's teammate, Dan McFarlane. Looking back to the Delta class, Nate Kerr has gotten closer to Clavijo. It's a 1.4 second gap now at the moment. 3rd place, Trenton Kramer, about 10 seconds off of this group, so not something to worry about for these two right now. It is Clavijo versus Kerr here at VIR for the Delta win at the moment. Vio's been in the lead of a couple of these races, and he has a couple wins this season, or a win. But it'd be nice to see him get out front and win one of these start to finish. Brian Saab on the back of Aaron Law into Oak Tree, putting the nose up in there. It's a nice little move. Get the elbows out, down the straightaway, trading blows. This is for P7 in class. Law's gonna have that raw Audi power up the hill to the braking zone. The 4 OG's Elantra on the inside. Law going wide. He's going to have to whoa it up, and that allows Saab to get through. And further ahead, Fuad Al-Rijla, we're checking in on him, checking in on this whole group. There is a battle for the Delta podium here. A car separates Kramer and Al-Rijla from each other, but then McDonald and DeJay are right on the back of this whole trail. And then that battle we saw with Brian Saab and Aaron Law. They've got Sean Gaynor. Look at them. They're all in the back of the picture, right? Well, you know, they're somewhere back there. They're only about 2 seconds off. If someone makes a wrong move, someone goes for an overtake and ends up failing, they could end up having a little train run on them here as people go by them. Connor Acatella is on pit road again. And his first stop, that was, I'm not sure if I can still see that. It was lap 3. So I think he may have had an issue. He had to pit early. He's probably going to have to stop 3 times, unfortunately. Zepka has gotten around Trenton Kramer. McDonald looking to the left on Thomas, opening the door for DeJay. They all go through turn 1 and exit the same way they went in. Now, Matthew Mayer has not been able to separate from Mitchell, but McKenzie has made some inroads on McFarlane. He's gained 3/10 since the last time we checked in. Schink has put over 2 seconds on Fabi, and McFarlane is he's gaining on Schink, or not, excuse me, not gaining on Schink, but he's gaining on Fabi, and Fabi is probably going to fall off the podium here after the second pit stop. And something has happened. Evan Clavijo off track at Oak Tree. I see another car also going off track there. That is a lapped car. I'm not sure exactly. That's Mitchell Rickmeyer, but I'm not sure if that was related. Both of them go off track. That allows Nate Kerr through and into the lead. It's a 1.3 second gap now. It has flipped. And the Delta leader, we've had a lead change. The Bearcat Motorsport Audi is back up front. Well, it's up front for the first time today, but he's trying to go back to back now. Looked like a couple of cars went off track there. I'm not sure exactly what happened. But now it's flipped the Delta class on its head a bit, just as we pass the halfway point of this race. It's also not the worst news for Trenton Kramer, for Fuad Rijla. They were about 9-10 seconds off the Delta leaders. Now they're 8.5. If stuff continues to happen, you never know. Kramer hasn't let go of Zepka since losing the position to him. Micah Hendricks has caught up to the back of this group. Now, he and Mitchell, teammates on the same strategy. So what you might see is Hendricks, if he's within the pit window, when he reaches Mayer, he's going to go in and grab those tires so he doesn't get held up. But I wonder if any team orders will happen here or if they will just fight for it. Looking back to Kramer into turn 1. Still behind Zepka. Al Rijla is slowly working up to the back of this this duo. On board with the SCRG driver now. Kramer going a little wide ahead. Very easy to do in that corner. I'm sure there's a decent amount of debris spread all throughout that section, in addition to the regular challenges these drivers are facing going through there. Chris McDonald has a run on David Thomas. Will he do something with it going into the S's? He looks to the left. Are we going to see a repeat of Mackenzie Mayer? Thomas will stay ahead going into the corners. Now Micah Hendricks has swapped with Damon Mitchell, so he will continue unimpeded for now. He has about a second and a half, a little under that, to the next car ahead, Matthew Mayer. Now Corey Laubner, he has been looking at the back of Sean Gaynor for some time. He and Lewis Gilbert have been running this little pack just on the fringe of the Delta top 10. But unable to make any inroads. Laubner looking to the right, though. Into the Patriot course. He cannot get anything done there, though. McDonald has been under a little bit of pressure from DeJay. DeJay going a bit wide there through the blind left-hander. It's such a difficult corner to get right. It's where we saw Harrison and Clavijo come together earlier on. And I see Laubner looking to the left side, trying to maybe go too wide through here. Thinks better of it. Just difficult to get any kind of pass done when you're in this part of the track. And it's got to be immensely frustrating as a driver to know you've got the pace through this part of the track, but there's just not a whole lot of room to put your car anywhere and get something done. Now, Clavijo is looking to rectify this mistake. The car's fine. He's gained a second on Kerr since the incident, and Kerr definitely does not have the same pace that the SRG driver has in that Veloster, but he has the track position right now. One more pit cycle to go. They're both on the fresh set of tires, both on the same strategy. And then behind that group, there are a couple of, well, there's one Alpha driver that may make their way by the end of the race, and that is David Bauer. Other drivers behind, I'm not sure if they will catch the Delta leaders by the end of the race, but Bauer is certainly going to have to navigate them. And I see, speaking of breakfast for dinner drivers, I think I got a notification that James Carr just gone off track at Oak Tree. It looks like he's okay. He's very much in there's a couple drivers that are kind of in no man's land right now. Carr's one. Harrison is looking to be another now that he's broken away from that little group. Francois Schink is definitely one. He's extended his lead even more. He's the, aside from Fabi, the only one of the leaders who took fuel only on the first stop, but I think what that's allowed him to do is get a crazy amount of clean air out front and just run to the end on low fuel. And he's going to bolt on some really good tires at the end of the race and go. His teammate Matt Zepka is on the back of Cooper Akers looking to make a move. Oh, Carr has gone off track for real this time. He's all the way at the edge of the grass out there. Where are we? We're somewhere in the Patriot course. He's come back on, and he's lost. I'm not sure if he's lost a position, but his entire gap to Anthony Harrison is now gone. I think that was about a 7-second gap before. Damon Mitchell has chosen to come down pit lane, the first of the drivers on the alternate strategy to come down and get their tires and fuel for the rest of the race. Clavijo and Nate Kerr going by him right now outside the pits. And Clavijo was about a tenth faster than Kerr on that last lap. I mean, he's right on the back of him. He's just got to find a way around him now. Zepka looking to the left side of Cooper Akers into turn one. This is for 15th overall. Can't find a way around him. Looking left, looking right. It's hard when the car ahead of you makes themselves as wide as possible through those corners. Now a late lunge from the 490, and he goes around Akers. Gets the job done, and he's up into 15th. We look back to the Delta leaders. We look back to Nate Kerr, to Evan Clavijo. We go on board with him right now. They're dealing with lap traffic ahead. I think that he's going to have to go around here a little bit, and definitely slowed a bit at the apex. Loses some ground to Nate Kerr in that fight. David Bauer lurks in the background. Something to keep in mind for both of them still. Now in the Delta class, Lobner and Gilbert have been separated from the rest, and they are fighting for 9th in class. Gilbert going a little wide there. Matthew Mayer is under pressure from Hendricks. This pressure will go away, theoretically, when Hendricks puts on a fresh set of tires and Mayer does not. Because Micah is one of the drivers on an alternate strategy. Now, Francois Schenck is on pit road and ready to get his fresh tires. That probably means Fabi will be coming in soon. Fabi will go around another lap. McFarlane and McKenzie. McKenzie has cut that gap to McFarlane about in half since he got around his teammate. That could put him within striking distance when the pit stops occur. Micah Hendricks has also had to come in and get tires. He watches Schenck leave pit road in front of him, and Schenck will exit onto the track. A good 15 seconds, not 15, a smaller gap. It'll be more like 4 seconds ahead of James Carr. And Micah Hendricks will come out a bit deeper in the field, but still with the relative amount of space in front of him. He has that group of Kramer and Alrijla battling for the Delta podium in front of him. I see that there's John Cornette in his first ATC start. Going by some of these other guys who are pitting. Brian Saab and Sean Gaynor come down pit lane. Yes, Saab did pit. And Gaynor also getting tires. This gap down to under a second and a half. McFarlane and McKenzie. And just under 18 minutes left here in Virginia. Francois Schenck looking for his first win of the season. And I think that he has got it pretty much locked down as long as these two don't suddenly gain a lot of time in between now and the pit stop. I think Schenck had a really great second stint that has put him a nice little gap between him and these guys, even with the difference in strategy. JB DJ looking to the left side of David Thomas into pitch corner and actually edging ahead as they get to the braking zone, and he will finally get around the grid filler Elantra. That is for a top 20 right there. Nate Kerr still holds a slight advantage over Clavijo. It is a 9/10 gap. Gonzalo Fabi comes down pit road. Trenton Kramer has been right on the back of Cooper Akers for a bit here, and now he's within 0.3 of a second. He's just looking for a place to pass, and I wonder, with Kramer being on the alternate strategy, he could pit on this lap. He probably is going to pit on this lap. That will clear him of the 29 and help him out a little bit. Lazan and 2 are also on pit lane. They came down at about the same time. And Schenck comes out well ahead of Gonzalo Fabi. James Carr, Anthony Harrison. There's Clavijo, who has taken the Delta lead because Nate Kerr pitted on this lap. And even though they are on the same strategy, pitting on different laps, Nate Kerr, he spent 12.5 seconds in his stall. So we'll wait and see if Clavijo can jump in the pits or if he will have to pass him on the track. David Bauer coming out pit lane right behind Fuad Arijla, and he will try and immediately attack into turn one. Arijla holding the inside line. Oh, but he's gone a bit wide. It's going to be tough to defend here. Where will Bauer look? If he looks at the underside of Arijla's wing, he will be told to report Clavijo, but as it stands, he's going to slide out there instead and lose a bit of time. And Thomas and Cooper Akers now battling with each other. This is for 22nd. Thomas to the inside. Can he finish it? McDonald looking to take advantage. They all fall back in line. Tough to finish a move there. They're all in an Elantra too, so they're all kind of strong in the same areas of the track. Evan Clavijo has not made it through the inner course yet. McFarlane has still holding about a 1.3, 1.4 second gap to McKenzie, and he will come in on this lap. McKenzie follows, so this will be their final pit stop of the day. Mayer stays out another lap. And I imagine we'll see a lot more of the field come in, this time by Brian Saab, under pressure from Connor Acatella. Acatella goes around in the bitch corner. Mike D'Almeida does not follow the leaders into pit lane, so Mayer and Almeida stay out. Francois Schink going around the lap car Victor Valley. James Carr hitting pit road in the background. He goes around the two drivers there. Can Fabi get around them as well into turn number one? McKenzie defends the middle of the track. Fabi goes to the inside. He's going to blow the whole corner. McFarlane and McKenzie stacked up. Fabi goes all the way off track. He is well into the grass. McFarlane stays ahead of McKenzie despite all that, but on pit exit, the gap between them is now only about a half second. So McKenzie now within striking distance on pit exit. Evan Clavijo, Delta leader on pit lane. Chris McDonald, is that his car in the background? It is. He has totaled it. He is out of this race. Clavijo on pit exit. Where is Nate Kerr? He's lost time. He's lost a lot of time. Clavijo's pit stop was 1.5 seconds faster. He spent 2 seconds less on pit lane overall. Even not accounting for that, you know, it's a 2.7 second lead he has now. He absolutely gapped Kerr during those laps when he needed to. Now, and that is, they didn't put on fresh tires either, so Kerr was not having to warm up his tires or anything. Clavijo back into the lead on the overcut. Let's see if he can hold on to it this time. McFarlane is not under direct pressure from McKenzie yet, but this could end up being the battle for P2. Francois Schink is 2.7 seconds up the road, and that is a gap that seems insurmountable by McFarlane and McKenzie at this point. 12 minutes left in this race. Mayer and D'Almeida are working their way through the Patriot course now, and they should be on pit lane this time. The only people that have not pitted yet during this cycle are Mayer, D'Almeida, Anthony Harrison, and Brian Saab. So they're still out of position. And we will just wait for them to come down pit lane. Mayer picking up that bonus, 2 bonus points for leading a lap. Hits the brakes and is on pit lane, and Mike D'Almeida will surely follow him in the number 6 Yellow Flag Motorsports Veloster. And He is on pit lane as well. So Francois Schenck will resume the lead. He will resume regular service here at VIR. 11 minutes left, and Schenck is looking for his first victory of the season. It'd be his first since Homestead, Miami last season. And of course, it would be one of many career wins. It'd be his 26th overall. It would move him just one win behind Slugnificent on the all-time wins list. Currently, he is 5th behind the Slug. Anthony Harrison on pit lane, exiting now. Micah Hendricks came out pit lane. Oh, whoa it up there. He comes out a little hot into turn 1. But he is behind Mike de Almeida, and that will be his fight for the rest of this race. He's climbed all the way to 7th place, up 24 spots since the start. We look back to McFarlane and McKenzie, and 10 minutes to go, McKenzie, this is maybe the closest battle on track, the battle for 2nd place overall. Both these cars are on the podium. So what they don't want to do is knock each other off of it, getting together. Saab and Thomas now on pit lane. That should finish up pit stops for this race. Raymond 2's not that far off of his teammate, John Lazon, on pit exit. This could be a fight for 8th place by the time this race is over. And then Matt Zepka is not that far off the back of David Bauer and ran much faster than him the last time around the track. So 3 different battles that are developing here at the end of this race. And Anthony Harrison's not that far off of, you'll see him in a moment here. Or excuse me, Clavijo's not that far off of Harrison. Harrison, yeah, they're both on old tires, so no warm-up here for Harrison. Clavijo is just cooking. He's got a 4-second gap on Nate Kerr now, trying to lock down this Delta victory. Look at the closing speed, but not close enough before corner entry. So they continue the way that they were. McFarlane is coming down through the final corners now with McKenzie at the same distance that he was at the start of the last lap. These two, you know, McFarlane, this I think is the first season you can say he's been a true championship contender. We're halfway through the season and we're still looking at him saying, well, is he going to win the championship? He and McKenzie have been battling each other, it feels like all season. At Belle Isle, now here, they come together. McKenzie's passed them, McFarlane a couple other times this season. So a little rivalry may be developing. McKenzie looks to the left, McFarlane goes deep. So McKenzie puts it up the inside. Here we come through turn number 3 now. The Elantra on the inside, the Veloster on the outside. It's going to be tough for McKenzie, and he will have to slot back in. McFarlane handled that well. He will squeeze McKenzie here a little bit, make sure that that dive there doesn't look too enticing. And he keeps the Yellow Tide Racing driver behind him for another series of corners. With the lap times that these drivers are doing, over 2.5 minutes, we should be about 3 laps from the end. Depending on when this lap ends, it could be 2 to go next time we hit the start-finish line. McKenzie is staying very close to McFarlane on this lap. The gap is less than 0.2 of a second. McFarlane a little shallow through Oak Tree. Who has the better run here? Behind, Matthew Mayer has gone off track. He is chasing Gonzalo Fabi for 4th. McKenzie has a run on Dan McFarlane into Mitch Corner. He's going to send it up the inside. McFarlane left a car's width. McKenzie takes the car's width. P2 for the Yellow Tide Racing driver. What a move. McFarlane cannot be happy about that one. That was absolutely diabolical from the 04. He's looking for something into the blind left-hander, but he can't get a nose in. And now I think he is firmly back in 3rd, and he's going to have to plot away back around Logan McKenzie for that P2. Looking back to the Delta class, Evan Clavillo still on the back of Anthony Harrison. They have not lost any ground to Nate Kerr behind, but Trenton Kramer and JB DeJay are going at it for the final podium spot in the Delta class. These two came together at the end of last week. Now, once again, battling each other, battling for track position for a podium spot in class. Up ahead, David Bauer under a lot of pressure from Zepka, but Zepka has nowhere to take it. But I think Zepka has the pace on Bauer here at the moment. I mentioned Fabi and Mayer. They are running into some traffic. That's Chris McDonald back on track. Fabi going around the outside of him with Matthew Mayer in close pursuit. I don't think they're at risk of being caught by anybody. So we bounce back to DeJay and Kramer. Go on board with the Spec Racer Ford Farmers Honda. You see right there, he carried a lot more speed than the 621 through that sequence, but in the end, he had nowhere to take it. When you're in a position like DeJay, when you have that track position, on a track like this, it's very easy to make your car as wide as possible and stick it. Mitchell under pressure from Carr in turn 1, and Carr does go around Damon Mitchell on exit of turn 1. That gets Carr into the top 10. Started 15th. Not a bad day from him so far. Looking at Matt Zepka still behind the 35 of David Bauer. This battle for 15th has been going on for some time, but like others around the track, I think Zepka is just finding that he can't get around Bauer when he needs to. He's got the pace on him in the wrong spots. Will he try something into the S's? No, he will not be close enough. So we'll bounce back to DeJay and Kramer. DeJay on a defensive line here. Kramer trying to get him into turn 4, couldn't do it. A tire into the gravel, and he loses a bit of ground. And Bauer staying ahead through Oak Tree, but let's see how this develops. If Zepka can get a good run out of here late in the Honda. Did both these guys, yes, they're on the same strategy, so they're on the same tire. Zepka looking to the left. Bauer will have to go defensive. And into the braking zone. Bauer's going to have the advantage. Zepka barely has a nose in there even. And as they come through the corner, he will have to stay behind. Now, Mayer is probably going to be looking for a move on Fabi on this lap. Francois Schenck comes across the line with 2 laps to go based on the timings. So this lap and then one more lap, and we will have a winner, 2 winners here at VIR. Zepka working on Bauer again through the Patriot course. Just can't find anything. And I think when we look back here at Trenton Kramer, it's a similar story, but he is really looking for something, throwing it out around the outside. But DeJay staying strong there thus far. Oh, Kramer had a lot of momentum there, but just couldn't get his nose in. This battle for P2 is not over either. McFarlane is only 7/10 off McKenzie now. He hasn't fully lost him. We'll keep an eye on that. Clavillo has not been able to get around Harrison, but they have pulled a lot of time on Nate Kerr. It's a 6, nearly 7-second gap. This race is Clavillo's to lose. Trenton Kramer now looking for something on DeJay as they come out to the front stretch. They are wheel to wheel into the braking zone. This is the best chance that Kramer has had, I think. He just needs to get laid on the brakes and really pinch that Elantra down in there. He's been able to keep a nose in, but not enough of a nose in, and he loses the spot again. Looking a little further back, Corey Lobner working on the back of Mark Darnell. I didn't recognize him earlier because he's switched to a Honda. Was he always in a Honda this season? That doesn't sound right. Maybe it's a livery change, but that really, seeing Mark Darnell in a Honda is definitely a bit strange. I always think Audi when I see Darnell. Jay keeping ahead of Kramer. This is allowing Cooper Akers to creep into this. Don't leave him out of this. He could enter this battle at the last moment here. McFarlane has closed back up to the rear end of the Yellow Tide Racing driver here. So with 1 lap to go, that battle's not over. Zepka looking to the left side of Bauer into Bitch. Hits the brakes. He's a little further alongside this time. They'll have some traffic upcoming. That is Victor Valley, who is a lap down, and then Nate Kerr, who is not a lap down. Not sure. Did I just watch Zepka go around Bauer there? Did Bauer have a slowdown? What happened? Oh, Bauer went off track. He went wide. I was looking over at the screen. I didn't even notice, and Zepka goes around him a bitch, and he is through on the penultimate lap of racing. Kramer trying to do the same. JB going a bit wide there, but manages to stay ahead, and Akers is now right on top, and then Kramer switches over, but can't get alongside. Mayer trying to get past Fabi on this final lap. White flag. They hit turn 1, and he can't find anything. McKenzie still ahead of McFarlane by about a half second. Kyle Murray and Fuad Rijla, teammates, they're going at it for 8th place in class, 25th overall. Battles all over the track here on the final lap. And some of these drivers have not even started the final lap. Like this group right here, they are coming to get the white flag. DeJay has put up a fine defense so far, but now he's got 2 cars back there. Nowhere to go with the momentum. Kramer will try and use the slipstream here into turn 1. Once again, looking to the left side of the Yellow Tide driver. Into turn 1. What can he do? What has he got? On the brakes. Still not able to stay alongside, but he may go for a little over-under. No, there's nothing there. So we check back to Gonzalo Fabi. Fabi staying ahead of Mayer. That's the battle for 4th. McKenzie still ahead of McFarlane in this battle for 2nd. And Francois Schenck has opened that gap up even more. It's now a 5-second lead. McKenzie going a little sideways there, but manages to keep it on track behind Clavijo, not being able to get alongside Anthony Harrison. Oh, he actually sent it. Oh, he sent it. What a move. You have to commend him for it. They're going to go side by side here. And now who's going to back out into the blind corner? Oh, Harrison's got him. And Francois Schenck has got this win at VIR for a whole hour. It's pure dominance from the Sia driver. Francois Schenck is back in victory lane. He wins in Virginia. What a win. Absolutely gapped Logan McKenzie, who comes P2, and Dan McFarlane P3. And then in the Delta class, not able to get around Anthony Harrison, but it doesn't matter. He's got a 7-second gap on Nate Kerr. That is a monumental lead in class. He had a small hiccup in the middle of the race, but he made up for it and then some. Into Hogpen. He's fighting Harrison for these points. He's not going to get them. But off the final corner, Evan Clavijo will win the Delta class at VIR and thrust himself right back into title contention. Looks to the left. He's not going to get Harrison at the line. Nate Kerr, P2, just holding off Matt Zepka at the line. And then JB DeJay will come home in that final podium spot as long as he can hook up the final corner. He will have to fend off Kramer in a run to the line. It's going to be close. Here they come. Kramer looking left, but DeJay's got him. He's on the podium. What a race from that group. And further behind, more cars coming across the line. Mark Darnell not able to get Lewis Gilbert at the last second. And that will wrap up this race. Well over an hour of racing here at VIR. Grand, and what a grand race it was. It felt like in that last stint, it was just constant action throughout the field, up and down. It was incredible to see. Great racing from everybody. And the championship battle continues between McKenzie, McFarland, Polasek not here. Schink wins the race. How will this affect him? Hendricks finished P7. Let's take a look at your final standings here and get the full rundown. Here are your results for the day. Not starting with, but covering this 60-minute race here at VIR. One-shot quality, definitely shuffled qualifying a little bit, but in the end, Francois Schink, a 5.2 second lead in an endurance race these days. You got to say that's a pretty dominating performance. McKenzie P2, McFarland P3, and you have Fabi, Mayer, De Almeida, Hendricks, Lazon 2, and Mitchell finishing up the top 10. Then Evan Clavijo wins with Nate Kerr and JB DeJay finishing up that podium. Kramer, Akers, Law, and Gilbert finish up the top 20. Here are the rest of your results. You see Al Ridgler down there in 23rd overall. Saab 26. Acatella recovered 28th, and Bauer ended up in 31st. I think he had to pit again towards the end of the race. That's why he's so far down there. And that will wrap it up from VIR. We will take a look at your updated championship standings here soon. But from me, from the ATC team, thank you so much for watching. Next week, we go to Sebring Modified. Yes, Modified. That is a layout that includes Sunset, Turn 1, Le Mans, and that's pretty much it. We will see how that goes. We'll see you there. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.